Well, tonight we continue our series of conversations with some of the most accomplished people in all of the Ozarks.
These are an inside look at how they got their start, what drives them, and what keeps them going. KY3's Emily Wood goes one-on-one tonight with comedic legend Yakov Smirnoff. Emily?
He's performed for millions from his own theater in Branson, not to mention the movies and TV shows. But as he prepares for his big finale here in the Ozarks, Yakov Smirnoff is reflecting on what's been an incredible journey.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Yakov Smirnoff.
He's one of the few comics in the world who can sell out a 2,000-seat theater.
But I'm an American now.
Decade after decade.
Only in America, you walk into a bank and you see a vault door open and they chain down a pen.
Yakov Smirnoff has made millions from his stories, living a life he never could have imagined growing up in communist Russia.
It was very humble beginnings.
Where he was raised in a communal apartment with 9 other families.
We had no phone, no car. We had no shower.
It had to be a little overwhelming to learn how to do stand-up, though, in a foreign language.
I said, well, maybe if I become a bartender, then I can start telling jokes to people just sitting there at the bar. But I didn't speak English.
Little by little, he learned, and within a year or two decided to take his act to Hollywood.
My name is Yakov Smirnoff. I am a comedian from Russia. Thank you very much.
His first big break came when he was picked to be a regular at the Comedy Store.
There are no things like American Express. They give you Russian Express. Don't leave home.
All of a sudden, I was making movies with all the stars, you know, and television shows.
How would you like to be my personal driver for the next 30 days at $5,000 a week?
You want to hire a piece of cup for $5,000 a week?
Cash.
What a country. America, I love it.
So how did you know when you had made it?
You know what? I don't know if that's ever been determined. Like when I was invited to the White House, probably would be one of those moments.
The Russian-born comedian not only performed for Ronald Reagan and his successors, he wrote jokes for the Soviet-era president and even speeches.
And the man said to him, taking the money, all right, come back in 10 years and get your automobile. And he said, morning or afternoon?
Your words coming out of Ronald Reagan's mouth.
Some of it. Don't go on. I didn't write, Mr. President, tear down that wall. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall. I didn't write that. It was pretty incredible.
Smirnoff found himself a part of history.
It's our duty to speak in this place of freedom.
But the millionaire jokesman was about to become the punchline with the collapse of the Soviet Union. How did that impact your career?
Bad. David Letterman had a top 10 list. It was a Christmas day. Now all the things that will change that the Soviet Union collapsed. And I made number 1 on the list. Yakov Smirnoff will be out of work. I was laughing. I remember my in-laws laughing. But it wasn't funny 6 months from that.
Living the American dream in a multi-million-dollar home, Smirnoff suddenly found himself facing canceled contracts and zero prospects.
And so all of a sudden it became scary because my kids, Natasha was 2.5, Alexander was 6 months old. And there was no way to pay those mortgage bills.
That's when his agent suggested the Ozarks.
I make a joke about this, but I figured there must be a place where they don't know that the Soviet Union collapsed. And I found Branson, Missouri. And it's been a blessing.
Within a matter of months, the Hollywood castaway was performing for sellout crowds in Middle America. So in a way, you had to rebuild your whole career.
Very much so. From scratch.
What would you say is your secret to success?
I recognize what I can contribute. It's just like you see the vision, you want something, and you got to crystallize it and make it real.
Now the star of the one-man show is turning over the stage to a new generation of performers. Why leave Branson now?
I think it's time to take this knowledge to bigger audience.
Smirnoff no longer wants to be known for the one-liners that made him famous.
So as a child, I made the discovery that love and laughter, they go hand in hand.
Instead, he's working on a PhD and considers himself a type of relationship expert. You yourself are divorced?
I went through divorce, yeah. So that kind of inspired me, and the laughter went away, and I noticed that too late.
Part of the new brand he's building in show business, and when he leaves, he's not looking back. How would you describe yourself in one word?
Relentless. You know, in the 80s, I was helping end the Cold War between countries. Now, I'm helping to end the Cold War between couples.
Nicely put. The first big gig back in Hollywood, by the way, it's already in the works. He's going to be in a PBS special all about relationships. That's coming up this spring. It's an hour-long nationwide, so that'll be a way to reintroduce himself to everybody.
What a fascinating man who now has to reintroduce himself.
Yes.
And I've been hearing, I don't know if this is true or not, Dancing with the Stars? Is he going to be on?
He loves talking about Dancing with the Stars. He hasn't been officially cast yet, but he has some reasons why he thinks he will be on the next season.
Wow.
He talks all about that in our web extras. So much more fascinating stuff on the web, including why it was so hard for him to ever get on The Tonight Show and lots more. So
Wow.
check that out for sure.
The American dream come true.
It's amazing. Ethan, Lisa, he is the technological tycoon protecting government secrets and your money. Rick Britton and his team innovate and manufacture some of the highest end security systems in the world. But back as a college dropout, it's a path he never could have envisioned.
This machine is going to put solder on the board.
You know about Apple, Microsoft, GE, and Honeywell, but you might not know the international technology powerhouse headquartered right here in Springfield, Missouri.
This is going into a burglary alarm panel or access control, a fire control.
The founder of Digital Monitoring Products, Rick Britton, is the mastermind behind thousands of security systems utilized worldwide by the United States government, military, and nearly every financial institution.
If someone's looking for something very specific, they could come to DMP.
Yes, most of the banks in the United States have DMP equipment.
DMP is the only company of its kind that innovates and builds every product in the U.S.
So why is that so important to you to stay here?
Oh, I think it's really key to have the engineering 50 feet away from the production floor.
You might expect someone like Britton to have an engineering degree, and he was accepted to MIT. But Britton ended up studying music instead, a degree he never completed. He had too many ideas for his father's small security company.
I just like learning anything new.
A college dropout back home, Britton thought his father's company should produce its own security systems, and he thought he could build them.
I think a lot of my ideas he thought were crazy, but from the time I was little, he and my mother, they always just let me try something.
Some 40 years later, the super successful inventor now leads hundreds of engineers designing devices for clients worldwide.
Is it something that you envisioned when you went to your dad and said, I think I can build this on my own?
I don't think I ever thought that far out. That I thought we just need this product, and so let's build this product, and not really thinking, where's this going to lead?
What is your secret to success?
Eager to learn, being able to learn from others, learn from mentors, reading and learning something new.
That learning led Britton to a new passion later in life, now taking him worlds away.
Over and over, they will talk about how when God came to their village.
Now heading a sophisticated Bible translation company, taking scripture to the most remote places around the globe.
And what is it about your personal faith that made you want to do this?
You know, the Bible has just always been a vital part of every day. That kind of unbelievable that people didn't have a single verse of the Bible to read at all.
Another learning experience for the lifelong innovator who believes success is meant to be shared.
We've been given so much that I just want to be generous, help anybody and everybody that I can.
For Britton, that includes the workplace, where one of the company values is kindness.
You got to be tough, but you can still be kind.
How would you describe yourself in one word?
I guess I'd prefer tenacious. That whenever I see something, I don't give up.
On the job every day, Britton leads by example. Even though he's busy taking his vision and his business worldwide, he still designs products, making DMP one of the first to focus on smartphone technology.
Our software allows you to arm and disarm your security system on the go. It runs your home automation, your lights, locks, thermostat.
Oh, that's a lot of fun. All right, there you go.
This grandfather of 5 has no plans to retire or even slow down anytime soon. Instead, focusing now on the needs he sees all around him.
What is the legacy that you hope to leave behind?
Generosity. I want to teach all the people at DMP, the people that I'm with, friends, the people at church, just be generous.
A lot of people, I think, are still surprised to hear a company like this is headquartered in Springfield, especially when we know so many other major tech companies are producing everything overseas because it saves money. So we went into depth on that one as well. Rick Britton answers that for us online on the Conversations page, and many more questions that you might still have after that piece.
It's incredible.
Ethan, Lisa, the native Australian came here with nothing, but in the last 3 decades has built one of the nation's largest hair care empires, all from right here in Springfield. More now from Gino Barbo.
From the perfect cut to the most on-trend color, clients at most hair salons are willing to pay just about anything to look their best. It is a multi-billion-dollar business that has allowed people like Gino Barbo to find super success, selling millions of dollars of shampoo, conditioner, mousses, gels, foams, and sprays every year.
So tell us how you fit into the hair care business, because you don't do hair.
No, I don't, right? So
Instead, Barbo, a native Australian, started out in the 80s selling shampoo salon to salon out of the back of his Mercury Cougar.
I just found very quickly that I loved what I was doing.
He says the exotic accent helped him make sales.
I loved it. Thank you.
Barbo moved to the Ozarks after meeting his now wife of 30 years, Dana, on a stateside vacation.
Do you think you could have done this in Australia?
No. I don't think I would have done it without Dana.
The two crisscrossed the Ozarks, building relationships with hairstylists and picking up what were then no-name products, like Paul Mitchell.
Paul Mitchell is a household name now. Was Paul Mitchell a household name 28 years ago?
Absolutely not. He started with 5 products, and JP, you know, he was out knocking on doors like every beginning entrepreneur that goes with it.
With an eye for great brands with staying power, Barbo has helped build some of those lines into household names. He now has the rights to sell many of them exclusively to some 15,000 salons and growing in 11 different states.
If I'm a Paul Mitchell salon in Springfield, Missouri, I buy from Gino.
Correct. Yes. And it's the same with some of our other brands.
Kevin Murphy, Moroccan Oil, Tea Tree, Colorproof, and his very own line, U-Smooth. Just a few of the top names Barbo and his team of nearly 300 sell directly to salons.
I think you make your own luck. You may not look for opportunities, but you have to recognize them.
Salon Service Group has grown an astronomical 400% within the last 8 years. They are now on pace to do $50 million in revenue this year alone. That means a new warehouse, new employees, and new technology to keep up with the demand.
If you would have told me 6 months ago that I was going to have 200 to 300 employees, I would have said that you're crazy. It's happened so quickly.
The new warehouse in North Springfield operates like a miniature Amazon.com.
757.
With many of the same machines to help improve efficiency, moving from packing 1 box at a time now to 14 or 15.
The numbers, the sales, all of those things, it's important, but it's not the most important thing. I think getting there and how you get there is more important than the end result.
Barbo's team moved into this new, sleek, modern building just weeks ago, creating a place where people feel proud to work.
Gino, what is the secret to your success?
I think it's people. You have to trust your people to be successful.
The company has had setbacks. Salon Service Group lost some 30% of its product lines 8 years ago. But that only fueled Barbo, recently acquiring the state of Texas for many lines, on pace to grow another 50% in the next 2 to 3 years. With all that success, this hair guru's business philosophy might surprise you.
How would you describe yourself in one word?
Integrity driven, that's 2 words.
First one that came to your mind was integrity.
I haven't made one business decision based on financial gain, ever. I always believe it'll come to you if you do it the right way.
And America's obsession with looking a certain way doesn't hurt either.
You're giving them confidence.
Successful salons rely on that steady stream of products to boost their bottom lines.
I could cut your hair and I could give you a beautiful cut, but if you don't have the products to make it come alive and give you the separation and the movement, then now your hair's going to fall flat.
Ryan Boyle and his team of stylists at Karma see some 150 clients on a busy day, and product sales, Boyle says, account for 50% of their business.
It's called job security. You get them hooked on it.
Not just about beauty. The tight-knit hair industry is based on lasting relationships.
You put everything into it.
We did. I love what I do every day, and I love it more today than I did 28 years ago.
All right, you guys have a fantastic weekend. Okay.
You've seen the impressive empire Gino Barbo and his team have built, but what we didn't get to show you is everything else they're involved in, including the organization that he set up to help independent hairstylists who have fallen on hard times. Learn about that and much more online, including what Barbo uses on his own hair.
But a lot of people are wondering
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lisa, Ethan, he thought he had his future all figured out as a high-power attorney, flying high in Washington, D.C. politics. But before long, Mike Hamra found himself running a fast food dynasty.
From the square beef patties to the chili to the classic Frosty.
Made like I've been doing it for years, right, John?
Most of us are familiar with the trademark items on every Wendy's menu.
Are you working fries today?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Mike Hamra is a second-generation fast food mogul, heading some 35 Wendy's, more than 50 Paneras, and nearly a dozen Noodles & Company restaurants around the country.
So do you consume a lot of Frosties?
I love Frosties. Anytime I order food at Wendy's, I always order a fry because I love the French fries that we serve, but I absolutely love the Frosties.
Most days you can find Hamra in the local stores interacting with employees. An important part, he says, of his role as a leader.
What would you say is the secret to your success?
I'd say listening is one of the secrets because it really does make a difference to hear what other people have to say.
A skill this younger Hamra learned from his father.
Oh, there's a good one.
We caught up with Sam Hamra in Florida. He started the fast food empire when he opened the very first Wendy's old-fashioned hamburgers in the entire region, right here in Springfield back in 1976.
I can assure you that not having been in the restaurant business before, I was hopeful, but at the same time concerned that it was going to be successful.
But the concept took off as Hamra added Wendy's after Wendy's around the state, involving his family in the business. Though his son Mike would eventually leave the Ozarks, becoming a powerful attorney in Washington, D.C., even working in the Clinton administration.
Were you always planning to come back and work with the family?
I was planning to have a career in Washington, D.C. for the rest of my life, but that never happened.
Did Dad and Mom call and say, son, it's time for you to come home?
That was really never my intention to work in the business. When the opportunity came up to acquire and get into another brand, which was Panera Bread, I really took a hard look at that.
A new challenge.
A new challenge, yeah.
Mike Hamra had worked at Wendy's in high school, and when he came back to the company, he started out as an overnight baker for Panera in Boston.
And then I gradually moved him up the line, and then I named him as president and CEO of the company.
Was it hard for him to let you take over?
Yes. Absolutely. I mean, it's his baby in a lot of ways that he started it. His identity is tied up in the business in a lot of ways.
Since the younger Hamra came on board, the family has acquired dozens of what are known as fast casual restaurants like Noodles & Company, where customers order at the counter but are served at tables with real dishes and flatware.
When can we expect to see Noodles & Co. here in Springfield?
As soon as we find a great site to introduce the brand into this market.
So could it be in 2015?
It's probably going to be somewhere in the 2016 range.
What the father and son have in common is their desire to support families through the company.
Hi, Lee. How are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good.
Between all the restaurants, the Hamras employ nearly 4,000 workers, and everyone, they say, has the chance to move up within the company.
By the end of the year, I plan on getting up to assistant manager. That's my goal.
Including Springfield father of three, Lee Hammond.
I love interacting with customers. I do everything there is possible to do here.
In the last year alone, Hamra Enterprises has grown some 25%, and they are on pace to do nearly that again in 2015, moving revenues toward $250 million this year alone.
How would you describe yourself in one word?
Committed to the business, committed to people, committed to making a difference.
You set goals for yourself?
Promises.
Promises to keep growing. A Springfield company built by a Springfield family.
What's the most important thing you've learned from your father?
Boy, the most important thing, I mean, he absolutely is somebody that loves people. I think the biggest thing for me that I've learned from my father is that it really makes a difference to take care of people. Meaning, like, really listen to what matters to those people and then act on it.
Since the Hammers employ thousands from Springfield to Chicago to Boston, I also asked about the proposal to raise the minimum wage nationwide. Well, that's something that's already happening there in Massachusetts, so you can find out how that would change the fast food industry for good. They talk about that and how it would affect their business as well, and that's on the conversations page, of course, at KY3.com.
KY3's Emily Wood introduces us to a visionary, James River pastor Debbie Lindell.
But if we don't have love, we miss the whole thing.
It may be cold and rainy, but some 10 to 15,000 people will make their way to James River Church on this Sunday.
You must have the same attitude that Christ Jesus had.
One of the largest churches in the nation, approximately 1 in every 30 people in the Springfield area consider John and Debbie Lindell to be their pastors.
Wait till you hear the message. It's amazing.
She wrote it.
Did you grow up thinking, I'm going to be a pastor someday?
I knew I always wanted to use my life to build the church and build the kingdom of God, but I didn't know how that would look.
Certainly, Debbie Lindell says not anything like this. The sprawling multi-million-dollar campus, complete with its own gourmet coffee shop, is nothing like the church this daughter of a minister knew growing up. And it's nothing like the first church she and her husband started in Kansas City, when they knocked on 700 doors and made some 13,000 phone calls inviting people to join.
The first year and a half, we averaged 8 people. So, you know, that's pretty tough to have a church with just 8 people.
Were you questioning whether or not you should be in the ministry at that point?
Yes. We went through a season just because the 2.5 years in Kansas City were so tough.
By the 3rd year, that church finally started to grow, but the Lindells had decided to resign. That's when they got the call to come to a new church in Springfield.
You could see that the hand of God was on this group of people, and they were growing. I mean, they'd started just 9 months before with 40 people, and now there were 80, and that was like, oh my goodness, they're really growing.
But the Lindells almost turned it down.
Part of it was we just didn't feel like we had anything to offer them because we were so tired. And we didn't feel like we felt like we'd failed.
They came, and within the first year, they would see James River grow from 80 people to more than 700.
It was like being on a fast-moving train. I mean, you didn't really have time to think about it.
We are a sisterhood united.
As the church grew, so did Lindell's role alongside her husband, John, launching a women's conference that has grown to more than 8,000 women each year with speakers from around the globe.
How do you describe yourself in one word?
I think I'm a visionary. I love to look into the future and believe God for big things.
Lindell now has the same title as her husband, lead pastor.
I am leading alongside and under John's authority.
It's not exactly commonplace for churches to be led, or in this case, co-led by female pastors, but the trend is growing. In the Assemblies of God denomination alone, a full 16% of all ministers are women, and a full 3% of all churches are led by female pastors like Debbie Lindell.
She is the co-leader, and they come together as one, and together they make a phenomenal team.
Together more than 30 years now, the Lindell's children are grown and they have children of their own. They all work in the family ministry business as well, making for lots of time together.
I think part of why it works is John and I are truly the best of friends. He wants to hear my opinions. He wants to know, what do you think on this? And that's the fun about leading together.
What would you say is your secret to success?
I think relying on the Lord, prayer. There's not a morning that I don't get up and say, God, if I don't have your help today, I won't be able to do it. I need your help. It's a big job.
A big job that comes with a lot of notoriety, meaning life experiences that many of us consider personal become very public.
She had a biopsy, had an MRI, and the result is she's got breast cancer.
Including a battle with breast cancer last year.
We knew I was going to have surgery the next week, but we didn't know what the journey was going to look like.
Lindell experienced many unexpected complications, but she survived. Now back at James River each Sunday, Wednesday, and most days in between, shepherding thousands.
If you weren't in the ministry, what would you be doing?
I would be doing something that made a difference in people's lives. I don't think there's no way I could sit home and not do anything. I want people to know Jesus.
And of course, since it is a multi-million-dollar nonprofit, there are always questions about how James River Church uses its money. You may even have heard that you have to pay to belong. Well, short answer, Lyndall says that's simply not true. But we asked her about it, as well as a lot of other questions that a lot of people have about an organization that they may be a part of or they're just not familiar with at all. He is the reason you crave Doritos, have that hankering for a Hostess brownies, and get the door. It's Domino's with that buffalo chicken pizza. Hungry? A look now at Bob Noble's recipe for success.
It's the home of all of the shooting that we do for the Food Channel.
This is not just any kitchen. It's the home of hot new recipes, viral videos, and the next meal to hit your kitchen table.
Now get in the kitchen.
When you have a lot of food companies, then you help them do anything and everything from recipes to new product development.
Bob Noble is the mastermind behind it all, an ad man at heart. He started the Springfield-based company bearing his name with a $2,000 loan more than 40 years ago.
When advertising was martini lunches and you thought big and all the kind of things, just exactly like Don Draper does on TV.
Your customers cannot be dependent on anymore. Their lives have changed. They're prosperous. Over the years, they've developed new tastes.
In a way, it's about new experiences.
It's about new experiences.
How would you describe yourself in one word?
Excitable.
How so?
If you're not reinventing yourself, what makes you interesting?
Reinvention is the recipe that runs Noble, growing the now multi-million-dollar food mecca into one of the top agencies in the nation. And the ingredients gleaned for forecasting the future are gathered here.
All they do is just surf things of their passions, their favorite websites, all that sort of stuff. When they run into something that is of interest to them, then they'll capture it.
A team of different tastes trolling the web, tracking emerging human behavior.
You know what I want before I know it, right?
We can put things in categories you would never expect, like how does a soup can have something to do with a red Buick?
Take a stroll down any aisle at your local store. Chances are the brands you buy are past or present Noble clients. That includes Quaker, Hostess, Frito-Lay, Highland, and Tyson, just to name a few.
If you spend a little too much time focusing on what the customer wanted yesterday, your business will slowly grind to a halt.
In this digital age, Noble says brand building is taking a different shape.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Gracie in the Kitchen.
Online and on your phone, 24 hours a day.
The first thing we're going to do is roast up some vegetables.
Because I want what I want when I want it. I want it now. You've got to be relevant today. So you need to jump in life and find what's going on in life and then be as relevant as you possibly can.
What would you say is your secret to success?
Seeking out and finding and recruiting people brighter than me, not that duplicate me, but that complement me.
Noble is always looking for what's next.
From a creative standpoint, how are we adjusting to it?
Not just in food, but for his countless other clients as well.
This gets your brush going.
So what's next for the marketing mastermind?
I think I'm just getting started.
As always, reinvention.
What is your advice for people starting out now?
Find out what you enjoy and then make that your story.
And things like Brownie Bites and Burger King's chicken fries are part of our everyday lives now, the drive-through world. But did you know that those are Noble originals?